Hi folks, in this video we're going to be thinking about how to approach the extract question on the Exploring Modern Texts exam for AQA. First things first, you need to have your essential equipment, you need your highlighter, and you need a pen. And of course, during the exam you'll have a copy of the text. But for this question, for part A, you only need to refer to details in this passage. The exam board even give you a clue by saying, how does Lee use details in this passage to present Miss Maudie's view of Maycomb? Now, what we don't want you to do is to go through and go, oh look, there's a simile, and then just write, Harper Lee uses a simile to present Miss Maudie's view of Maycomb, because actually it doesn't tell us anything. So what you need to do is you need to think, first of all, what question are they asking me? So in this case, we're thinking, how does Lee use details in this passage to present Miss Maudie's view of Maycomb? And of course, this allows us to talk about what the town is like, but by linking it to Miss Maudie, it lets us show our understanding of Maycomb society. So what that's now done is it means that going through this paper, I know what I'm thinking about. So I'm going to go through this extract and I'm going to think, rather than just can I see a metaphor, can I see a simile, can I see alliteration, you're thinking which bits of this in the extract link to Miss Maudie's view of Maycomb? Which bits of this extract talk about Harper Lee's presentation of Maycomb and Miss Maudie's view? So what I'd probably do is I'd start going through and I'd just read it. So I simply want to tell you that there are some men in this world who are born to do our unpleasant jobs for us. Your father's one of them. I'd highlight that word born because it kind of implies destiny, that we're all set onto a path, which is very much the attitude that we see in Maycomb with their strict social hierarchy. I then pick up on the fact that Harper Lee in this next bit starts talking about Jem and Jem's realisation that life isn't exactly fair. So I'd pick up on his fatalistic noises. I'd probably pick up on his half-eaten cake. And then this simile, which of course is a simile, I'd also pick up on, but not just because it's a simile, because actually I think the idea of being a caterpillar in a cocoon ties to an idea of metamorphosis, of change. And this is going to be helpful as I go through, because I'm also going to pick up next on the fact that we've got this idea of the appearance of how people are and how they really are, which we see quite a lot in To Kill a Mockingbird. Now, for a long time during the text, of course, they get referred to as the best folks in the world. Miss Maudie qualifies it by saying they're the safest, shows that they don't want to take risks, and it kind of implies that they don't want to change. So as you can see, I'm going through, I'm continuing to annotate, I'm continuing to focus everything I'm picking out back to this question. I'm not going through and I'm not just spotting features, I'm thinking which bits are going to help me answer this question. So I need to think, right, what else can I find in here that shows me Miss Maudie's view of Maycomb? So the next thing that I'd probably pick out, so I'd pick out this word rarely, because she's talking about how they're rarely called upon to do things. And actually, that suggests that Maycomb is a safe place, regardless of any attacks, regardless of any crimes that have taken place. Maycomb, in Miss Maudie's view, is a safe place. I'd also pick up on the fact that she refers to them being Christian, and she refers to the way that men like Atticus do it for them. Moving down through the article, I'd probably pick out the fact that even though she's one of our forward-thinking characters, even though we've got language that links to this idea of metamorphosis and change, she still refers to Tom Robinson's coloured friends and people like us. So despite the fact that she's quite progressive thinking, she still makes the distinction. Equality hasn't quite hit yet. And that ties into what we see later on in the article, of course, because we continue this idea of metamorphosis and change. We continue this idea of taking steps forward in the way that actually, despite all of these things going on, there's still that potential for change. And that implies that Miss Mordy's view, and we can assume Harper Lee's view, is not 100% negative. There is change on the horizon. And all of these people that she names, you've got Judge Taylor, you've got Hecate, you've got Atticus, all of these people that are involved in trying to sort out the situation, in fact, are indeed part of this change, part of this metamorphosis, and tying back to this simile that Jem uses earlier on in the text. So far, to approach this question, what I've done is I've gone through the question, I've picked out the key details, I've thought about, okay, so I need to think about what it shows about what Maycomb society is like, what the town is like, and what Miss Mordy thinks about it. I've picked up on the ideas of metamorphosis, of change, because that ties in right the way through the response. And now I've got all these bits picked out, and I know they're all relevant to the question I'm going to ask. All I need to do is I need to go through and I need to select 3 quotations before I start writing my response. So I think definitely I'd pick out my caterpillar in a cocoon. I'd pick out my baby steps. And I'd pick out this distinction that Miss Mordy makes, showing that despite the fact that change is on the horizon, there's still that distinction between white and black. So now you'll be about 5 minutes into your exam, and by this point, you'll be completely ready to write this response. Remember to use our point, evidence, explain, explore, develop structure. Make sure you are evaluating. Make sure you are analysing specific detail. Make sure you're answering the question. And you're referring to relevant details. And that's it really for the extract question.